No five-star shows on Clip My Horse this weekend, so the chance for Joe and I to discuss a burning topic, and that are the breeder's premiums. Should a breeder receive an extra sum of money if the horses that he or she bred do well in the international sport? And if so, where should that money come from? Lots to discuss and lots to talk about. Before we go there though, first your quick strides presented by Uvex. A triple debut at Kessel this weekend, and a very busy weekend for one family in particular. Harry Charles has a new ride, LT Holst Fredda, the 12-year-old grey mare who just took New Zealander Julie Davey to the World Cup final in Fort Worth. The Olympic team champion went clear in a meter 45 class on his first attempt. His wife, Eve Jobs, was at the same show on two new horses with Good Star du Barry. She posted an impressive double clear at meter 50. And with Grand Duc du Paradiso, she was placed at meter 45. Three new partnerships, all worth watching. Eduardo Alvarez Aznar's gelding legend has died at 15. A son of Ogano Sitte and bred by Jonas Bonen in Belgium, he joined the Spaniards stable in 2019. Together, they reached the very top of the sport. They were third in the World Cup of Lyon, third in the Grand Prix of Shanghai, and a Spanish flag bearer at the Tokyo Olympic Games and at the Europeans in Riesenbeck. 100 years of Piazza di Siena, and Rome made it count. Friday belonged to Mexico, the Nations Cup, their first win in the Eternal City since 1948. 78 years of waiting. Hanguerrero, Pascal, Azcárraga and Martinez Sommer held their nerve through a jump-off against Germany, and Great Britain took third. Sunday, however, belonged to Italy, the Rolex Grand Prix, and a home win the country had been waiting for since Lorenzo De Luca in 2018. Pier Giorgio Bucci delivered the only double clear of the day with the Belgian Grey Stallion Parite from the North Ranch, and at the age of 50 and after 15 attempts in Rome, this is the win of his life. Also from Kessel, some quiet and good news. Minuteman is back. The Belgian-bred stallion, once known as O'Neill van het Eigenlo, has returned to competition under Hendrik van Eckermann. The last time we saw him in the ring was Falsterbo, mid-July last year, where he closed out on a double clear in the Home Nations Cup. Then, silence. 10 months out of the spotlight, and this week in the Netherlands, the former world number one brought him back to the start. The world of breeding has lost one of its quiet influences. Urico has died at 19. A Dutch-bred stallion, a son of Untouchable, he was raised by the Aldering and Swellheim families and sold young to the Holsteiner Verband. There he became one of the most respected jumping sires of his generation. You know his work even if you don't know his name. His son is Urikas van de Kattenvenne. He carried Harry Smollers to Paris, and Bullrun's Jiré jumps in America for Kirsten van der Veen. And the same bloodline, through his father, Untouchable, produced United Touch as Richard Vogel's Aachen Grand Prix winner. Can you believe that? No five-star shows on Clip My Horse this weekend, and so begs the question what your favorite guest on the Horse Show did over the weekend. Joe Lee, welcome to the Horse Show. What did you do over the entire weekend when there is no five-star shows on Clip My Horse?
I jumped myself, actually. I went to my first international show of the year. Yeah, it was good.
How did it go?
Good. I didn't win anything, but I won a few private battles, I think.
Private battles, that's good to hear. You jumped your first Grand Prix in a long time. How did that go?
Very good, actually. I had a really good horse, All Road 2000Z. He did an amazing job. I got a little bit, I was jumping clear till the last line. I got a little bit excited myself, was moving around. Everything that I say on the Horse Show about people moving too much and not looking, I did exactly that. I had one down.
Did you prioritize distance over balance instead of balance over distance?
Something like that, yes. Something like that. I definitely move too much.
Did you pick up ranking points? The ranking is coming out any day now, any moment now. Do you think you're going to climb on the FEI ranking?
I don't think I'll be climbing. No, I don't think I'll be climbing. No.
No, okay. How many horses did you take to Bonhead? That's where you were competing in Belgium.
Bonhead. I took 6 for myself, 3 young ones, 3 older ones, and 2 for my son.
Okay.
He won more money than me, by the way.
Well done, Liam Klee, who gets his second mention here on the horse show. How about the prize money that you won? What about dropping a little percentage of that to the breeders?
I don't think the money I won this week is going to get the breeders very far.
Okay, but that's honest. Because in April and May, Dutch journalist Dirk Willem Rosie, the director of the pedigree database Horse Telex and former editor-in-chief of Horses.nl and the Paardenkrant, published a 5-part series arguing that show jumping must finally introduce a breeder's premium. His trigger seemed to be Frank McCord's new Premier League jumping or Premier Jumping League, which adds another 100 million euros each year in prize money, but none of which goes to the breeders who actually created the horses. Rosie proposes a small percentage of the 5-star prize money, 1 or 2%, to be redirected to the breeders of the winning horses. He spent 5 weeks asking every party in the sport for their position, and the entire stockbook world is in favor. The WBFSH has been pushing this since 2018. Riders' representatives, François Mathy Jr. is personally supportive, but that is not an official statement of the International Jumping Riders Club. And even the individual owners that Rosie reached out to, like Ludger Beerbaum, Paul Schockemöller and Erik Berkhoff, all said yes. But the official Jumping Owners Club refused in a single sentence in a very short message. The event organizers passed the question on to the FEI, and on the 17th of June, the WBFSH meets with the FEI again, and the breeders' premiums are formally on the agenda for the first time since 2018. The author of the series, Dirk Willem Rosie, is with us to discuss the topic. So welcome to the Horse Show, Dirk Willem Rosie.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm very happy to be here.
It is great to have you. Why is a breeder's premium needed?
Yeah, because the prize money at 5-star level is rising incredibly and to the highest heights, so to speak. And whilst the prize money at 5-star level is rising to the extent of 350,000 euros on one Sunday afternoon or 500,000 euros at one Sunday afternoon. Whilst that movement is going on, and as you said, there's even more to come, prices of foals on average are not rising, and it's not getting easier to sell foals. The numbers of registrations are going down, the number of breeders are going down worldwide, and I think we need an incentive for breeders to not only get a bit of money out of the success of their intellectual property, but also to get a bit of recognition.
Okay, I want to bring up this graphic. This is a graphic from the World Breeding Federation for Sport Horses. It gives us some context around the registration of foals, how those foals have, how this registration of foals have been growing and now dropping. In your opinion, is this just a correction because we had a major high in the just post-COVID years? Is this a correction after COVID, or is there something else happening?
That's a very good question. As we've seen over the decades, it's always a bit of a cycle, and it's always going up and going down, along with economic development. For lots of people, breeding is something extra, like a hobby. But the sport and breeding are getting more and more professional. And it's a development that we see also when you look at the number of breeders, it's going down, but the number of foals per breeder is slightly going up. So that means that less people are breeding, and the total number of foals is going down, but per breeder it's rising a bit. So we are at risk of losing the broad mass of breeders here. And that's why this is so important. we cannot survive, also not at the highest level, also not the riders and owners who are doing the biggest tracks and all the big competition. They also need the broad basis of breeders for the future horses to be bred. And if only those breeders would survive, that can actually live off horses and of breeding, then there's little left to ride and little left to organize in the future.
You had a second reason why a breeder's premium should be introduced. The breeder is losing money on their foals. In the same report, the state of the industry of the World Breeding Federation, there is a graphic that says, on average, in studbook sales, studbook auctions, those foals make on average €10,000 per auction, and that is an average without the extremes at the top end and at the bottom end. One would say, what's the problem?
Yeah, I've seen the numbers that the WBFSH has produced. I don't think they are really representative for what actually is going on. It's a pre-selected number of auctions, and if you would ask breeders that you would meet at competitions, they will not say that they are doing a better job and earning more money for their foals and have less problems selling their foals. I think we have the reverse evolution here. And the evolution is that numbers are dropping in 24 and 25. And also this year, when I talk to stallion owners, they all say, well, it's really going down, and now it's going down even faster than in the past.
I want to come back to the breeder losing money. Is that because, why is that in your opinion? Has it got to do with costs? Is it with sales? Is it with the market? Why do you think that is the case?
Well, costs have gone up. I live in Riesenbeck in Germany, and costs of veterinary assistance are going sky high. Last year, I was one mare. I had one mare covered with the frozen semen of my own stallion, and only the veterinary costs were €1,000 for that one mare. So the costs are going up all over the place, also for riders, also for owners, but also for breeders. The problem for breeders is that they cannot play together with riders and owners in the big field where the money is revolving. They don't have that network. They don't have the entrance. They don't have the options that riders and owners have to compete and to really earn where the money is being made at the top.
And how would you solve that? What is the solution that you have set out in your series of articles and the concept that you have put together?
Well, I'm looking for a feasible option, something that is practical. And I know, but I've had horses competing internationally at 2- and 3-star level. I've never lost so much money as in those days, because I know which financial risks Joe is running every weekend. I know that. So it would be ridiculous to ask a percentage of the prize money at 2- or 3-star level. It's ridiculous because owners and riders are running risk there and losing money sometimes, also making money. It's a big industry. But you cannot, in my mind, you cannot deduct a percentage of that kind of prize money. But when there is 700,000 or 1 million or 6 million to share at one competition, then there is money to share. And the breeders of these horses winning this kind of money nowadays almost always are conscious breeders. They know what they are doing. They are following the sport. They are as much into the sport and into equestrianism as riders and owners. Only they have to pay €75 to see their intellectual property win €350,000 on a Sunday afternoon. And that's an ethical thing that I wouldn't feel comfortable if I would be the rider or the owner of such a horse. And I would know that the breeder doesn't get any recognition and doesn't get any money from that kind of money that is being won there.
Joe, how do you feel about what you hear, numbers of breeders are going down, breeders are retiring, are stopping, breeders are selling their foals at a price that is lower than the cost, the money that they've actually spent on breeding it. What does that mean to you?
I absolutely agree that we should look after breeders, certainly small breeders. I think they're an important part of our industry and they deserve recognition, absolutely, on the highest level. If they're breeding top show jumpers, they deserve the recognition.
But the good news is the few euros that you've made, Dirk Willem is not after those euros that you made at 2-star level. He's talking about 5-star level, the 300,000, 500,000, 1 million and more Grand Prix and other classes in that 5-star realm.
Sure. Out of all the horses bred every year, you'll probably be able to tell me this. What is the percentage that actually goes into 5-star level and makes money? You know?
Do you have an answer to that question, Dirk Willem?
Well, it is true that only a very small percentage enters that level. And I think it would be a good start to start there, because obviously there is money to share there. And also the psychological effect of money going to the breeder would be very important. That would be like a reward, not only in money, but also kind of recognition. It would keep breeders going.
I mean, the horses that actually break into that top level, the amount of money it costs to get them to that level, to find out if they are good enough eventually. I mean, most of the sponsors or owners of these horses at that level have already made a massive investment. Do you not think they deserve the rewards they get when they get to that level? If they're brave enough to keep the horse, maybe they buy it as a foal, maybe they buy it really expensive as a 7 or an 8-year-old. If they're lucky enough that that horse does work out to be good enough, do you not think they deserve the rewards then? They're taking all the risks after all.
I'm well aware of the fact that these horses have costed a lot of money and that owners and riders have run risks to get there. I'm well aware of that. I know the business. But we have to look at a feasible, workable system to get this balance back. The balance, I mean, the balance between the bases of the equestrian sector and the top, where the money is getting up and up and up and up, and the base is staying where it is, and it's staying where it is. So there is no balance anymore, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. I'm looking at a feasible, a possible solution. We all know that money is being made in the equestrian world. Just go look around at Klobbeek and Kronenberg, and here in Riesenberg where I live, money is being made in this business. Now, where do we get that bit of money, little bit of money, away from that world where so much money is being made? Well, my proposal is to get it at 5-star level. That's it.
It's a really interesting remark that you made, because the money is being made in Kronenberg, in Lier, in Centaur Park, in Riesenbeck. Those are the 2- and 3-star shows. Joe, you're in this every day. You manage a sports stable. You have to look out for costs. A horse that turns 7 and is competing in the sport, and you trace back the last 7 years, what are the actual costs? What money has been invested into that horse, you think?
So I did a little research. I think by the time it's 7 years old, if you've competed internationally and you've done all the right work, vets fees, trucks, grooms, everything, you're looking around 100,000 euros to get the horse to 7 years old.
And from there on, if you embark on that international journey with the ambition to get to that 5-star level, monthly cost, yearly cost, what are we looking at? Ballpark? I don't want you to put the finger on it, but just give us an estimate, an idea.
I mean, I think by the time you've kept the horse till it's 10 years old, I think you're looking somewhere in the region of 400 to 500,000 to get it to that level, jumping internationally, you know?
Can you give me an estimate of what it costs on a monthly basis or a yearly basis?
It depends on the age of the horse and the competition they're doing. But if you're looking at traveling round to 5-star shows, I mean, you're looking somewhere, depending on where you are as well. I mean, it's much more expensive in America than in Europe. but somewhere between 10 and 30,000 for an international horse per month.
Yeah.
And that's without incident.
Yeah. Without an injury. Okay, if it's injured, he does have to travel to shows, but it also doesn't make any prize money.
But the only time you find out if these horses are good enough is when they walk into their first 5-star competition when they're 10, 11 years old. So you have to spend all that money to get them to there to find out if they are actually good enough in the end.
Dirk Willem, we've looked up the crop of 2013. So that's the generation of 2013, foals born in 2013, and how they did in 2025, and the prize money, how they did prize money wise. I think it's 144 horses that made over 50,000 euros. There's 2 horses that made more than a million. And there's 9 horses that made more than 500. There are 100,000. There are 85 horses that made more than 100,000 in that year, in the year of 2025, only from the crop of 2013. So I found it an interesting figure because I hear what you say. On one end, there's Frank McCourt who comes in with 100 million a year. There's Richard Vogel who might travel to Spruce and win maybe the Grand Prix there and the bonus again, another million. On the other end, there are horses at 5-star level that earn less than they actually cost every year just to keep them going. We're not talking about investing to buy them. And on the other hand, I also hear what you say. There's money being made in the sales. My question is, though we both agree that we should support the breeder, are we looking for the money in the right place?
Well, I would like to keep it simple. I mean, there's no way that prize money in general will cover the costs of a horse being educated to that level. I'm fully aware over that. There are probably 5 or 6 or 7 horses that are exempted to that rule, but in general, that doesn't work, obviously. But I would like to keep it simple and just state as a fact that a lot of people and more people in the professional world at the top of the sector, of the equestrian sector, are making good money. If I just drive around Lieren or Glabbeek and drive around Riesenbeck, or if I go to Florida, I see professionals earning a lot of money, having a good living, and it's well deserved. I mean, it's really well deserved. Also, Kent Frankton winning $1 million in one day, well deserved. He's a fine rider, and he has, a wonderful educator of his horse. I don't object to that. I just state the fact that at the top of the equestrian sector, a lot of money is going around, and quite a few of professionals are making a very, very good living. Now, as long as these professionals are not willing to pay a percentage of their monthly income to the WBFSAs to spread it around the equestrian breeding world, as long as that doesn't happen, I'm looking for a solution. And I don't see it at 2, 3, 4-star level. I see it at 5-star level, where money is there to be shared.
Just something that Frederik just pointed out with United Touch potentially going to win 1.5. I think he's still owned by the breeder.
Yeah.
So that breeder has taken the risk to keep his breeding, and now he's getting the lion's share of the reward. But to be brave enough to have the belief and trust in your own breeding to keep it that far, and I'm sure he was offered money along the way, but he's kept it, and now he's getting the rewards he deserves. But
we have to give Julius Petrosinak credit for doing that.
Absolutely.
He actually fought on and on and on, also in adversary times, and so he really deserves the success that United Touch brings him. But he is a very big exemption to a very big rule that breeders don't get there. It's not their world.
No, I understand that, but if they're selling them as a foal, they're never going to get there. If you breed a foal and you have belief in your own breeding, I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. they do need support. But is there not a way that they can find to keep their offspring, to take them into the sport, to get the rewards they deserve? Again, what Frederik said, are we looking for the compensation in the right place? Is there not a way they can look for the big rewards themselves?
No. Well, breeders obviously have the option to go owner of their horse and share the horse with a rider. But I'm looking at it in a practical way. Breeders are. I think there's an English saying: if you're not able to cook, then stay out of the kitchen. Breeders are not really very well known in matters of training horses and the costs of these that this all has, and also the ways of making profit out of training and educating a horse. It's not their world. And what I'm saying is that if we only would end up with breeders who are able to stay in the kitchen and stand the heat, then there will be little to ride and little to organize. We need the bigger basis of all these breeders that are not able to compete and to play and to dance at the million ball.
It sounds like you're looking for sort of solidarity. Is that the right word to put it? Solidarity from the strongest shoulders to support the base, the foundation of our sport?
Yes, I'm looking for big shoulders, and at 5-star level, the shoulders are big, I can tell you. And I'm not looking for calculations to tell me that at 5-star level some horses are losing money for their owners and their riders. These owners also make money with other horses and the riders too. So in general, at 5-star level, there's money to share. Now let's deduct a small percentage and let's keep breeders breeding.
And imagine that I would breed, just to understand what the philosophy behind it is, if I would breed a successful 5-star Grand Prix horse, do I get the full 1% that of the prize money that my horse makes, or does it go into a pot and it gets distributed over all the breeders?
No, it would. In my idea, I've been discussing this with Jan Pedersen and other people from the WBFSH and a couple of stopbook representatives. In my idea, the WBFSH would have to have a notary, so to speak, who with a bank account, and all the money goes to one bank account, and that's being divided over the stud books, and they have the contacts to the breeders. So it must be a simple system in which organizers do not have a lot to worry about. They have lots of things on their mind, and just transfer the percentage to one notary of the WBFSH, and after that, the WFSH in the stud books will take care of the rest.
Okay. It's an interesting discussion, and I'm really happy that you bring it up, because I do feel that we have to recognize and support breeders. You've been on a journey, you've contacted a lot of people. Give me a little bit of insight on the feedback that you've received on this topic.
Yeah, but the stud books are all on my side. I've been in contact with the Chef Français, Bérangère Lacroix, and she's fully supporting of this. And she says, well, that would be a big contribution, but also a good addition to what they nationally are doing in France. This is really a topic. Also in Sweden, also the BWP, Geert Helsen, is very, very supportive. The KDLPN is very supportive. So the good thing about this is that the breeding world has united behind this idea that something needs to be done here.
But the people you've contacted are also the biggest beneficiary to this program. The big stud books, the people breeding the most horses. What did the riders say about it? What did the owners say about it?
Well, this percentage would not go to the stud book. The stud book would only be able to pass it on to the breeder, because the stud book knows who the breeder is. Sometimes lots of times there's bit of a question: who is really the breeder of a horse? And that's a problem that the FEI or an organizer shouldn't worry about. Just have to leave it up to the stud books.
But
Go ahead.
the biggest beneficiaries are going to still be the biggest breeders. I mean,
The most successful.
the most successful breeders, or the biggest breeders, Shocker-Mola, these type of people, are going to be the biggest beneficiary to this system.
But it's also a good thing that if this would happen, and it depends on where the money comes from, that it's success that is being rewarded. If you keep breeding and you breed unsuccessful horses, you are not
Going to get
money from this. So that's also a topic that we spoke about. Yeah, maybe there's also a bit of responsibility with certain breeders because, like you already mentioned, there's a lot of very conscious breeders these days, and success sometimes still happens by accident, but way less than it used to happen. Is there also a bit of a responsibility for breeders to be aware? And my question is actually, should a hobby make money or cover costs? My wife has a race bike, and that's an expensive bike, but she's never going to make money of it. And now I'm making a bit of a caricature out of it, and I know that you respect that. But the question is, should it make money?
Well, hobby is very nice, and for 90% or 80% of the breeders, it is truly a hobby. And what I'm trying to achieve is that it stays a hobby for that 80%. And the hobbies tend to be stopped when too much money is being lost. So the passion does not leave the breeder. It's just his wallet that is getting empty. That's something where we have to do something.
But again, to go back to what I was saying, is this money going to get to the hobby breeder? It sounds like the most successful breeders...
If he's a successful breeder, will go to the hobby breeder. But if he's not successful, it will have no impact with that breeder who is not successful.
But we have to remember the statistics. It's 1% of all horses born, 1 or 2% of all horses born make it to that level where they're earning money.
Yeah. Did you get in touch any chance with Premier Jumping League? I mean, this is the series to contact at the moment. I was just wondering.
I've not been able to contact them, but they should be, of course, involved in this whole project.
I'll send you an email address and see where that takes us. I thought, well, wait a minute. How does this happen in other industries? So I looked at harness racing, the trotting racing in France, and thoroughbred racing. And there they speak of 8, 9, 10, even 12% of prize money that trickles down to the breeder of that winning horse. But then I realized when I digged deeper, digged.
Yeah. Dug.
When I went further, that actually that money comes from the federation, and so you would think it's the prize money that comes from the federation, but actually the origin of the money is from the betting. Would that be an idea in our industry?
Well, I don't think you can really compare trotting and racing with equestrian sports, unfortunately. I mean, there's straw and there's hay and there's pellets and there's trucks, but that's about all. And trotting and racing is more of a intertwined system of breeding and sport, more of a uniform system that's really connected all the way through. And whereas in dressage and in show jumping, you have individual breeders, individual riders, individual institutions, individual competition organizers. And the FEI is not, I don't think the FEI is strong enough to impose a uniform system in which the balance is being brought back to where it should be. So we need a system of solidarity actually within the sector, and it starts with the recognition of those at the highest level, at the 5-star level, where the money goes round. The recognition that they are really depending on the broad basis of breeders producing the top horses for the future, and
So I mean, a lot of everything's gone up. We all know that all the prices of hay's gone up, all the price of food's gone up. It's taxation, it's inflation. is it not possible to look to the federations and governments and things to support breeders? I mean, the industry is paying a massive amount of tax every year. Is it not possible to look in that direction for compensation or help or these type of things?
I don't see the necessity of officials and governments to play a part in this. They all want to leave it up to private enterprise, and that's what we really are. We are all private enterprises, so to speak. Even breeders are. That's something that breeders should be aware of. That they are also having a small kind of business. But yet again, we need to stabilize and get back a bit of a balance in this world where, in my mind, things are running out of hand, and I'm just looking for not just my solution, but any practical solution to get a bit of the money that's flowing at the top to the basis in order for breeders to continue breeding.
Because if I have it right, you are a dressage breeder. So at this point, we talk about show jumping. The money wouldn't end in your pocket at the moment, even if your horse would be successful in dressage. I hear you say something very interesting. Recognition. If we are looking at that 5-star level, there's 80,000 foals being born across a year. Actually, a little bit more, but let's say 80,000 show jumping foals. 1% of it makes it into 5-star Grand Prix and World Cups and Nations Cups. That's 1%. We're talking about from one crop around 140, maybe 150 horses every year from one generation. So we're actually not helping that large of an amount of breeders. So this is rather than being super impactful, this is more symbolic. I've got two questions about it. Would it make sense that also amongst breeders there would be solidarity, that the two breeders who receive the 10,000 euro because their horse makes 1 million, that it's aligned across all breeders at 5-star level? That's one question. And my second question just slipped my mind. Would there be anything else, regardless of the prize money, regardless of the money, that our industry should do? Because we should do it, we have to promote our breeders, we have to support our breeders. In your opinion, what else can we do to support breeders and make sure that breeders keep on breeding? Because they are the foundation. If we don't have horses, we do not compete in the sport. That's how easy it is. Should there be solidarity amongst breeders? And what else can we do, in your opinion?
Yeah, well, there's a lot that we can do more to honor and give credit to breeders. I think it's a very good idea of the FEI to display the groom of the horse at championships and at big Longines, Nations Cup events, etc. It's a fantastic idea, and it should remain this way because the groom is a fantastic part of the success of the whole team. But when I see it, I have the feeling that somebody is missing there. The architect, the person that has thought of the genetics, without who this in genetics, the success would not be there. So yes, we have to think of other options as well to give credit to the breeders, mention their names, announcers that are announcing the name of the rider and the horse, but not the name of the breeder. So we should do really what we can to give more publicity and more recognition to riders. And yes, this should be taken to the broad world of 5-star equestrian events, also in dressage, also in eventing. There must be this, as you call it, symbolic signal that the top of the sport is also mindful and also thinking of the person who has made this all possible at the beginning, the breeder.
Last part, the meeting between the WBFSH, World Breeding Federation for Sport Horses, and the FEI is scheduled on the 17th of June. Is that a consequence of your initiative, if I may ask?
That's a good question. The FEI and WBFSH have been discussing this topic of breeders' premiums 8 years ago, and since then it has not been on the table. So I'm very curious to see. I'm not part of all this. I just started this discussion. That's all. I will not be in Lausanne. I'm not any official of a stockbook or a WBFSH, but I know it will be on the table, and I know that the pressure from the side of the stockbooks is there. All stockbooks think it should be facilitated by the FEI. And now the next question is, how can we do this? And I hope that there will be a working group, which is always a good solution if the problem is big and not fit for a simple solution. I hope there will be a working group that will be, looking around for options to actually make a practical solution for this idea.
Okay. Dirk Willem Rosie, thank you very much for the initiative. I hope that something comes out of this, both out of your initiative and the discussions between the World Breeding Federation and the FEI. 17th of June it is scheduled. I don't know when we will get echoes or feedback from that meeting, but thank you very much for thinking of the breeder. From next week, the horse show sits in a new graphic design, and we are also going to shed a bit more light on the breeders of the horses that we discussed. So there for sure, Joe, myself, the team, and you, we very much align. So thank you very much for talking to us. Good luck with the project, and looking forward to see how this will develop in the future.
Pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
There we go. Dirk Willem Rosie, editor-in-chief, former editor-in-chief of Horses.nl, Dutch website, Paardenkrant, Dutch newspaper, and CEO of Horsetelex, one of the pedigree data bases. When I read his article, I thought, wait a minute, that's a little bit one side, a little bit populistic. Mm-hmm. I have to say, when I hear the man talk now, there is much more nuance than when you read the article.
I had exactly the same. I read the article and it's really the rich against the poor, David and Goliath. But indeed, something needs to be done. I agree with his view. I agree with something needs to be done. I'm just not sure we're looking in the right place. From my side of things, I know how much risk and how much effort and how these sponsors and owners put so much into all of this to get them to that level. To then ask them to give some of their rewards away, I'm not sure that's the right way to go. There are shows already celebrating breeders, and I think most Belgium shows always display the breeders, but I do agree more needs to be done on the 5-star level to advertise the breeders.
I was shocked on one end to see how many 5-star horses don't cover their own costs during the year. We're not talking about the investment of buying them. Mm-hmm. We're talking about the costs that their management has to pay every month to keep them going, and how little money they actually bring in. And then I saw Greya, and what is it? I think it's 2.8 that she has made over her career so far, and the career is far from over. But then I got in touch with an American rider to understand how the costs would balance there. And that person said, you have to think about €10,000 per month for your normal horse that travels to various shows, but think about 30,000 per month for those really big international contenders. And going to a 5-star show costs you €5,000 entry fee for your first horse. Yeah. With us in Europe, I think that's zero. We discussed that already, I think, with Mark Leone a few episodes ago. But if I calculated that means that Greya already costs 1.8 million in over the 5 years that she has been in America. Yeah. So that's it is an interesting perspective of how little horses make it to the top 1%, how little money they actually make there. Mm-hmm. And how much it costs to keep them going as well.
Yeah, that's why these owners and riders need celebrating for keeping those horses, because they don't necessarily make that investment. Let's say they buy a horse for $1 million. They don't buy that thinking this is a great business idea, we're going to win lots of money. They buy it for the sport, pure emotion, you know? And that's amazing what they're doing. And then to ask them to give a percentage of the little they win away seems difficult to sort of put it to them.
And on the other hand, maybe in the big scheme of things, maybe a percentage to keep the breeders going so that we're still competing in 10, 15, 20 years. And I don't want to call it dramatic, maybe also makes sense.
Sure, and I do agree with that. But when you shocked me with the statistics or the numbers you just read out, how if we put this into play and this becomes a rule, it's not going to affect them dramatically. No. It's going to definitely build up over time if someone's breeding a lot of horses. But again, I think we're talking more about the smaller breeders. Is it going to impact the smaller breeders who are only breeding 1 or 2 a year?
Yeah, because only 1% of 80,000 make 5-star classes. Maybe it is a 10% that sit in the group below, but it does feel, if you look at those numbers, that maybe 50% don't make this international sport at all at a significant level, call it plus meter 40.
And just to put another spin on things, all the horses that people lose money on. I mean, every year...
You don't hold your hand open and go to the breeder and say...
Every year there's horses bred that we believe in and eventually they're not good enough and they get sold for a massive loss. Imagine then that we phone the breeder up and ask them for compensation.
Actually funny, because it's the same emotion that drives the breeder that also drives the owner. Actually, they're both doing the same.
Passion for the sport.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of... It looks like when you go to a show, just for example, you go to a show and you understand that the VIP table costs a lot of money and you sit there and you work out all the tables and then you calculate that. And then you think, well, they're earning so much money. But what they don't do is calculate the costs of putting that there and putting all the people there that work and all the everything to put the tents up. It all costs money. And when you really work it out, the shows that put these amazing events on are not earning a lot of money. They're doing it for the sport.
In fact, there are more 2- and 3-star events that make more money than 5-star events. But that's a different story. When I brought up the topic of breeding, what did you think about that? The fact that, for example, in France, trotters, le PMU, the betting mutuel, the betting, sorry, betting in show jumping. Some Chinese, doesn't matter where, Colombian, could also be just here in Belgium, in Antwerp, sits on his phone and bets on the upcoming Grand Prix in Zangalen. And from that money, the betting managed by an organization within our industry, from that money, money trickles down to the breeders. What would you think about betting in our sport?
Well, you know me, I bet every week, don't I? Every week I bet on the Grand Prix who's going to win it, you know, with you. Mm. So I can't see... We have to obviously look at horse welfare. Is it going to change anything for that? I don't think so. I don't think riders are going to start to think about that on top of it. We'd have to see what format it came in and how it worked, but I would have a bet every week, yeah.
Yeah, okay, there we go. Joe, it was a short episode, but it was a good one. It's an interesting one. It's one that I feel very strongly about. To be fair, I've spoken with many people already about breeders' premiums. And if you look at it from a breeder's perspective, it is crystal clear that it has to happen. But never until now did I also look at it from an owner's perspective. And then I think, yeah, wait a minute, they're already not making money. And it's an interesting thing that what Dirk Willem said, the money is actually being made in the sales and not in the sport. So why find in the sport, or what can we do with the sales? I think that conversation is far from over. Is your sporting career far from over now that you've made a comeback? Or is it time for you to retire, or are you just going to carry on now?
No, carry on. I enjoyed it this week. I enjoyed it. I really had fun. It was nice.
I've got good news. Next week we have got 2 5-star events back on the schedule and here on Clip My Horse. Let's have a look at what is coming up this week. Brought to you by the Aloga Show Advisor. This week, we have to move over. It is the Spruce Meadows Continental, the first of many 5-star weekends in Spruce Meadows with the 5-star Grand Prix. I think it's 2:30 local time. Let's call it in Europe. That will be 11:30 p.m. And there is also the CSIO of Zangalen with its Nations Cup and with its Grand Prix. I think it's Nations Cup on Friday, Grand Prix on Sunday. That will be discussed next week in a new episode of The Horse Show. Joe, thank you very much for talking to us, giving us your opinion on those readers' previews. Thank you very much to Dirk Willem Rosie for taking the time to chat to us. And I'm very much looking forward to see what is going to happen in that discussion between the FAI and the World Breeding Federation for Sport Horses. In the meanwhile, thank you very much for watching this episode and see you with a lot of pleasure next week again on The Horse Show.